what is it like for you? What's the reality of going to the ADX on day number one?
So the bus ride was scary as shit, because you don't know what they're gonna do, and I'd been set up so many times that I don't trust them. So I'm having a real deal of fear for real. Like my arms are going numb. They're always kind of numb from the forward pointing, but like my chest is feeling weird. I can't feel my face. And there's still loudmouths on the bus saying that I'm not going. Like there are people that are going to the penitentiary saying that they're still faking me out.
So you probably got one of the craziest stories I've ever heard, right? You go to the Federal Bureau of Prisons, you start out in a low, and then you end up in the ADX around people like Wayne Perry and Larry Hoover and some, pretty, important crime figures, I guess you could say. But tell me how you ended up in federal prison, Eric.
Yeah, so in 2014, I was just doing the things that I believed in. It doesn't really matter like what my beliefs are, but it was stuff that I took really seriously. And I threw 2 Molotov cocktails at a congressman's office, a federal congressman's office, in defiance of what they were up to. And they did not like that.
They did not like that, but you end up in federal prison. How much time do you end up getting?
After a pretrial of 16 months, I ended up getting 120.
120. How old are you at the time around when you end up getting arrested for this?
I ended up looking it up too. I was 26 and a half.
26 and a half years old. You ever done any time before the federal bid?
No, not really. I had a ton of deferments for like assaulting a peace officer or interfering with a peace officer, just like bopping cops on the head or whatever. And then I'd done some juvie time, but I'd never done like a real bid before. No.
You're on your way to do a real bid. What was your life like growing up though? What results in you going down that road where you end up with a 10-year bid?
Yeah. So I grew up in a really poor part of Kansas City. And I was just seeing my neighbors, like the cops and the sheriffs come and throw their property on the yards, just getting evicted from their homes with nothing. The cops not giving a shit about them. The bank's not giving a shit about them. And so that helped formulate the entire like class war part of my mind, to where it is us versus them. It is us versus capital. It is us versus the cops. It is us versus the banks. Because if we don't look out for each other and our neighbors, like these motherfuckers aren't going to.
You kind of seen through all the bullshit at a young age.
Yeah, it was forced on me. You grow up really quick when you don't have shit to eat and you have the water turned off. Like you learn.
Did you have both parents in the house or just your mom? Or
it was just my biological dad abandoned us super fast. And then I didn't have another stepdad till I was 13. So it was just me, my mom, and my brother.
And life was rough.
Like it was full of love and everything. But from a material standpoint, we had some difficulty. You don't realize that you're poor shit, or you don't realize that stuff when you're young. You just know you don't have nothing.
Yeah, you realize that, when kids start picking on you at school and you got on, shoes with holes in them, things like that, right?
I mean, that's not a joke at all. That's very serious. These little fucking brats.
I've been there, but now I try to make sure that my kids have the things that they need and break my back to make sure that it happens. So let's talk a little bit about, kind of like, your life's a little messed up, growing up poor, kind of makes you think like, hey, man, I dislike these people that take advantage of people. You end up doing this situation, right, at the Congress office, whatever, certain things we shouldn't say on YouTube because they'll bang us. But anyway, you end up catching this 10-year bid, never really been in prison. Where do you end up? I mean, when they arrest you, where do they take you when you first get arrested?
So when I first get arrested, they take you to the Jackson County Jail. And you just sit in a room for 3 days. It's just an open room. I think it's got one bench in it. You sleep on the floor. There's one toilet on the side that everyone has to use with no curtain or nothing. And then after 3.5 days of that, they finally come and tell me, like, you're going to the feds. So I get taken to CCA. It's a private facility, a private jail in Leavenworth, Kansas. And that's where I do like the entirety of my first pretrial.
CCAs, man, definitely some wild places. I've been in a few of them. I've been in the one in Youngstown, Ohio. Absolutely unprofessional, off the chain. Dudes are banging staff members in there. Staff members are bringing in, anything you could think of. It was a pretty wild place in Youngstown. How was it in Leavenworth?
Same, 100% same. Prisoners, and I've spoken about this in the past, but it always bothers me. We essentially had the run of the prison, or jail. It was those guards did not give a shit. They weren't getting paid enough to care. And instead of going after them and forcing them to give us better conditions, we just attacked each other. And man, it just drove me fucking crazy. That place is a zoo. It is a wild house, and just unchecked violence nonstop. And it just could have worked to our benefit, but we chose not to. We fell in line with what they wanted.
For a guy that's really never been to prison, you go in at 26 and a half years old, you're in this CCA. Does the violence that you see affect you mentally or just emotionally, or both?
Both. I really, I'm not joking when I say I really thought that we were going to Attica that place. We were going to force them to treat us better or else. And after a while, you just realize that's not the situation. You have to start adapting pretty quickly, or they're going to fuck you up. You're going to be a victim. So the violence, it made me paranoid. It changed a lot of my personality. It made it to where you don't trust people nearly as much, because you know that if this dude needs some Suboxone and you've got a box of commissary, he's going to try to take it if he thinks you're soft or an easy one. So man, it made me lose faith in a lot of the people or a lot of the things that I hoped for, and it also made me paranoid as shit, because I didn't want to be a victim.
What was one of the wildest things you've seen at CCA? I mean, I know that bad things happen there, socks and locks, all kinds of things.
Yeah. So the wildest thing I saw was what happened to me, where I had stood up for one of my friends, one of my comrades, and taken on a lieutenant, and then they fucked me up pretty bad. They beat the shit out of me. And I don't even know if they still have it, but they used to have the fire extinguishers full of pepper spray, and they just dumped on me. They dumped the first half, and I kept thinking they're going to stop. They're going to stop. I'm already done. And then they put me down on the ground, and I got my long hair, and they pull my head back, and then they finish off the can. And so I can't breathe. I think I'm going to die. And so they take me to a hot shower. You cannot shower in hot water after that stuff. It'll activate and maybe kill you. And then they put me in a cell, just my boxers, no books, magazines, or nothing. And they turn off the faucet. I can't get water. So they have to bring me cups every hour. But in the meantime, I have to use toilet water to shower. And I wasn't alone in that. That happened to people. They got their vengeance. So outside of just the typical people getting stabbed and people getting robbed, that was the worst thing that I saw, because it affected me. I was like, God damn.
Ever seen anybody get seriously assaulted at the CCA?
Yeah, almost that was a very regular thing. Because they would do this weird shit. The guards, as I said, they didn't care. They were getting $9 an hour. So there would be people during lunch that would just leave their pod, go to another pod, wait for the guards to open the door, rush in, do what they had to do, and then rush out. So you're just seeing these people come and go. And it's, ugh. Yeah, I saw too much blood. I don't like seeing none of that stuff. I hate it. I hate all that.
There's some youngsters listening. They probably need to know what's really going on. They think they're tough till they get to that big house, so to speak. And that's when things get real, right?
It is. And you don't want to be that, or at least me. I don't see myself as tough. I'm not a hard dude. I was just trying to survive. And when your personality becomes trying to impress violence, trying to show how real you are with violence, that leaks to me as an insecurity. There's nothing else about you that's strong, so you have to show it with force. And those sort of people, I try to stay away from them. I don't want to be around those cats. And if you think that's fun, cool, but that's where you're going to be, and that's what the life you're going to face, and it sucks.
Definitely not a good life, right? So, you don't really know what you're getting in the beginning. I mean, eventually you end up with the 10-piece, but you're going back and forth to court. What are they talking about time-wise?
Yeah. And those court dates suck. That was a burden. But the first thing they came to me with was 65. I had 4 charges: possession of explosives on a government property, use of explosives in government property. So just like repetitive shit. But they offered 65. And that's an obvious no. No one's going to take 65. And then they came back with either 35 or 40. And that's an obvious no. I'm not doing it. I was young enough to where I felt like I just didn't need to do that. And so I was taking it up until trial. I was delaying, I was dragging them out. And then I took it up till trial, and they finally came with 120 months. They would drop 3 of the minor charges and just keep the big one. So that's a mandatory minimum, mandatory maximum of 10 years. And at that point, as everyone that's been in prison knows, you're just tired. You are so tired of bad food. You're so tired of expensive everything, of violence. You just want to move on. So I very defeatedly accepted that 120 months and signed the plea. Hated myself.
You know, you're 26 years old. You sign the plea. You go for sentencing. What does it feel like the day that they give you 10 years? 10 years is a long time.
Yeah, it is. It's not a long time, like to someone who maybe did 20 or 40 or 50, but when you're young, that's almost half your life. And it sucked. It hurt. I had a lot of supporters there. Folks that come from Denver, some folks from Kansas City, some media, like friendly media, thankfully. But it just ripped my heart out. Because there's so many unknowns. So it numbed me. Like it was just sorrow and numbness. And I hadn't felt that before in my life. And it sucks the life out of you for sure. I hated it.
So now you're on your way to prison, right? First prison, you get sentenced, you're on your way there. Are you nervous? You don't know where you're going, right?
Nervous as shit. Because as I've pointed out, and as I will continue to point out, I am not a tough guy. So I don't know. Are they going to send me to this fucking penitentiary and I'm going to have to book somebody? Are they going to send me to a medium? And I don't know anything about mediums. I don't know if they're hard, if they're soft. I have no idea. And so they send me to Grady County, and I'm scared as shit. I'm not afraid to admit it. And you just wait. You just wait until they bus you to where you're going.
I have to say, Grady County, I've been there a few times. One of the worst places, probably the worst place I've ever been to. Tell the people what Grady County's like, what the food is like, what the atmosphere is like. Because when you go through transit, if you won't be any more miserable than being at that place for 2-3 weeks. Some people are stuck there for months.
During COVID, I had a friend that got stuck there for 6 months, and he wanted to kill himself. Like it was too much. The conditions there, I don't know how they could be worse. The food is the worst you've ever had in your life. Just miserable slop. Like that is real deal slop. The beds could not be more uncomfortable. If you have $10 to buy yourself a pillow, it sucks too. And then it's loud. It's never not loud. There are people that treat it like a daycare, and they are screaming, rapping, banging on the tables, playing bones, playing spades. And if you're trying to get on a routine, you're dead. You won't be able to do it. And so it was expensive as fuck. The cops just walk around with tasers. They are dying to tase somebody. And it reminds you that like you're not a human to them. You are not treated like a human. You will not be valued like a human. And then we do it to ourselves by being so rambunctious.
So people know, you think that, a lot of people have this false misperception or false perception that, people are respectful in prison and jail. This place, when you talk about people playing spades, dominoes, bones, they're slamming this shit at 2-3 in the morning, right? I'm talking about 2 feet away from your bed where you're trying to sleep, right?
Do not give a shit. And that was probably the first time I ever had to adapt. So first would be in the violence at CCA. But I show up at Grady County, and I think we're all going to be on this routine. And I was taught very quickly that is once again naive as shit. So you have to figure out what's valuable to you. You can try to go to bed at 10 o'clock and just be pissed off for the next 6 hours. Like these motherfuckers won't shut up. Just miserable. Or you just adapt. And so that's what I did. That's where I learned to play dominoes. Was because like if these motherfuckers are going to be up till 2 and I literally can't sleep, then I'll be up till 2. Fuck it. I wouldn't yell next to people's beds still. Like I still try to have a little decorum, a little dignity. But yeah, I I didn't want to be miserable. So if I have to adapt a little to make it where my mental health stays okay, stays level, then that's what I had to do, even though like I don't like it. I don't like staying up late.
They do have units over there with cells and everybody gets locked in at night, but sometimes luck of the draw, you think you're lucky you don't have to go to a cell. You end up in this open dorm area and it's all bad. I ended up in the open dorm area one time. I was over there with a couple Southsiders. Dudes were super disrespectful, and you know what, man? Some dudes stood up. The Southsiders were like, "Yo, bro," I remember big old Southsider. He was like, "Hey, what's up, fool? You don't have no respect over here, fool." And we ended up compromising where everybody was like, "Okay, man." At 11:30 at night, everyone's going to bed, and they set the tone, they set the rules, and it ended up working out. But that was after 3 or 4 days of, you know what, misery. And these dudes realized, like, hey, bro, like there's 50 Mexicans in here and 5 of us. So, you know, they kind of conformed, and well, there's probably about eight dudes, right, that were really troublemakers, man. And not saying based on race, just 8 dudes that had no, you know, prison etiquette, I guess you can call it, prison knowledge, and just thought that they were on the street. And you know what? The dudes were like, yo, homie, this shit is real. So it got a little bit better the one time I was in the open dorm.
We every time even when I was going to ADX, I was in an open dorm. I thought for sure they'd put me in a cell. Nope. But it was always like 45 black cats, 2 natives, and 2 white guys. Survive. Do what you got to do to get through that fucking night, because you're not going to tell 45 dudes to shut up. At least I'm not.
I was in the unit, it was full of Hispanics, a lot of all Latino.
I would love that for real.
So anyway, so you're in that, you're over there, you end up leaving there. No problems there for you?
No, never. Like maybe would have thought there would be, but for me, and I had crazy restrictions because of my charges. I didn't have phone, I didn't have visits, I didn't have like a lot of these things. So that was I used that as a vacation because they had video visits. And so you can video visit your ass off. They're not following BOP rules. So I would get to see my wife, get to see my kids. But 10, 12 days later, your ass is up at 4:30 in the morning, sitting in R&D for 5 hours.
It was my first time. I had never seen a cell phone with FaceTime, nothing like that. And I happened to be going through there, and they had video visits. And, you know, I was able to get on a video visit and tell them, hey, man, pull up on the computer. Let me see this. Show me that. So it was like, wow. I even did a video for Kim Kardashian from there on their little video system. I did. It's crazy as it was. I was trying to, you know, hey, I need to get out of prison. I need help. She was talking about helping people with clemency, and eventually she helped some people. And I actually interviewed Chris Young on my channel. But yeah, man, one of the worst places I've been, except for those video visits.
Yeah.
So you leave CCA. Where you head to now? I mean, you leave Grady County. Where are you going now?
So we land in Colorado, and once again, I didn't have no goddamn idea where we were headed. And I've got a bomb charge. Like it could be anywhere. What I didn't understand at that time was the point system. That like you will get sent somewhere based off your history, education, age, race. And so I should have known that I'd go to a medium or a low. And so we land in Colorado, and that's the Florence Camp, High, Max, and Supermax, but also Inglewood buses. All of us get off. And they call me for the low bus, for the Inglewood bus. And I just could not have been happier. I could not have been more excited, because that place is soft as baby shit. You're not going to have problems there. And so I was pumped.
So were you worried, though, before you ended up in Englewood? Were you like, damn, man, I might end up getting brutalized in here?
I wasn't worried from a what's going to happen to me perspective. I was worried about catching new charges, about having to change my character, about having to do things that I wouldn't be proud of. Or in the back of my mind, probably, yeah, like, are these dudes going to fuck me up? Because you never know. You don't know these motherfuckers what's up.
So anyway, you make it to Englewood. How is it there? How's life there?
Sweet. Low security prisons are wild. We didn't even have cell doors. I guess there's like 20 cells in the side, but I was in a dorm basically at the end of a hallway. So there's no lockdowns. We had a tennis court. We had great basketball. We had the best gym. We got the best gym on earth. It was better than gyms I've been to in the free world, for real. And a library that was like a legitimate library. And And because they're not locked down ever, you can take classes. Like you can do that stuff. You can get your points reduced. You can do all that stuff that you cannot do at higher custody levels. And so there was no violence. No one's going to tell you what to do. One of these fucking dropouts going to tell you what to do. The food was the best I've ever had. They had like an open cereal bar where they have like 4 different types of cereal. You just grab however many milks you want. Like I didn't realize how sweet it was until I left it. I thought that was prison. I was obviously mistaken.
So you leave the low. Why do you end up leaving the low?
Yeah. So I do this agitation thing. Like I don't ride with like against another car. I ride against the cop car. Like that's the gang that I'm against. And so I never stop like just trying to picket these dudes. And at low security prisons, because there's no actual violence, the violence that you face is from petty ass cops, like these small, pathetic dudes who don't realize that like they are as soft as the prisoners. And so after a while, one of them just starts bullying me. Like I don't like saying it that way because it makes you sound like a victim, but like he's just like finding ways to fuck with my mail, to delay things, to disrespect my family at visits. And so one day I write my wife and kids, and I include a drawing like to help with my mental health as a stick figure. It's literally just me and my wife as sticks, and we're standing next to a tombstone. And on the tombstone is that guard's name. Because like I want to show my kids, like, we're okay, like they're nothing, they're in the dirt. And one of those cops, like someone told on me, I don't know who, but they told the cops that I was threatening them, and they searched my mail, saw that, and immediately handcuffed. They came and got me from work, handcuffed me, put me in the shoe for like an hour, and then drove my ass right to the medium. Referred me to the FBI.
Refer you to FBI for what? Threatening a staff member, allegedly?
Yeah, threatening a federal agent with bodily harm.
Oh, that's probably because what you were convicted of. They think, hey, this dude's a serious dude. He's capable of anything. And
against them, I am. Like, against them, I am. But not against other prisoners, but against those staff. Who knows what could happen? But
no, you take care of your family and your kids and your wife, and you're not involved in that stuff. But anyway, so you end up going to the medium, right? You get transferred to the medium. Where at? Florence?
Yeah.
What's life like at a medium? Now you walk into a medium. It's a step up. In Florence is, some things happen at the FCI over there.
Yeah. So they put me in the shoe there for 2 months while they do the referral process. And while you're back there, like you're seeing people come and go for violence. Like there's stabbings every now and then. There's lots of lockings. And so that was my impression of what the prison was going to be like. And after 2 months, they come to my door. King, you gonna walk? You coming out to the yard? And you never say no. Like who would ever say no? So I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, I am. And so you go out into the yard and you go to your unit. And for someone like me, it's intimidating. Like it really is. There's all these big dudes standing around covered in tattoos, hitting you with like the "what's up, Wood," like all that bullshit. And I was nervous as hell. Like I'm tiny. I'm a tiny dude and I don't want to do nothing. So I was pretty nervous at first. And then after a month, like you realize you get into your pattern and you see what's going to set people off, what's disrespect, what's not disrespect. And you get your rhythm, or I did.
So what, no issues for you there with other prisoners at all while you're at the FCI?
There was tons of issues. There's tons of issues.
With you and other prisoners?
Yeah, me and prisoners and me and staff. I
can't imagine why, man. I see you got the see you swinging around the brass knuckles there. Huh? You keep those on you?
Trauma. I'm right by the front door. You never know. It just makes me feel safe. Yeah, but yeah, I stuck to my ethics inside as much as you can without getting killed. And so I'm not a racist guy. I'm not a homophobic guy, and I'm not going to pretend to be because these fucking assholes want me to be. I won't do it. If that's what you believe, fine. It's not what I believe. So I taught classes. I taught yoga. I taught law classes. Not even law, just how to type. I was stunned at how many people don't know how to type. And so some of those cats, some of the gang dudes did not like that. They didn't like that I let other races in my yoga class. And I was not gonna. I'll eat and stay in line and live, but you're not gonna tell me who to teach yoga to. And so every now and then you'd have the fisticuffs or conflict, and you just get it over with. You go into the cell, you have your 1 or 2, and then you just move on. But I wasn't backing up from that at all.
You said you're a little dude. You mentioned that you're not a tough guy. Are you winning these ones in the cell or losing or what?
So I boxed my entire life. Like I could show you boxing pictures right now, championship pictures. So if nothing, like they have weight classes for a reason. Like I have my limits, but if nothing else, I can prevent myself from getting seriously hurt. If it's one-on-one, you have to be a real beast to hurt me. And so I was
hold on. You're from Kansas City, right?
Yeah.
That area. The Silver Glove Nationals were held there for many years. I think they still are, right? Mm-hmm. Amateur national silver gloves. I fought there as a kid.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
That's sweet. So we have the nationals there. We also have the ringside nationals. And then obviously the regional stuff. But I was in all that. Like everyone in Kansas City is in a boxing gym. So I knew what I was doing at least to keep myself safe in those moments. And as long as you don't back down, they're not going to beat you off the yard as long as you're not a bitch. Like if you know.
Your amateur record in prison. Is it 5-2? I mean, 7-1. What is it?
One-on-one, it's probably 3-3. More than one-on-one, it's 0-5.
Hey, I respect it, bro. At least we can laugh about it, right?
That includes staff, though. Like that includes staff fighting.
You know, you're getting in these issues, kind of like the white prison politics. They think they're your dad. They can tell you what to do, and you're like, look. To a certain extent, I'm going to walk the line. I'm going to, follow certain. But there's certain things I'm just not bending for, and they didn't like it.
Yeah, I mean that's 100% it. There's this weird mentality where other grown men think they can tell you how to exist. And that's a weird thing that happens in prison. And I don't understand it. I don't get it. So I'll do what it takes to keep me alive, but that's where it ends. Like, I'm not going to go further than that to make you happy. That's some bitch stuff.
So what happens? Why do you end up leaving the FCI?
So I was an agitator and I went after the guards. Most of the time verbally, but I had a voice. I had people that I could at least write about, and like magazines or whatever would publish it. So I was calling out these cops at every angle. If you're ripping up our stuff during lockdowns, I'm writing about it, publishing it. If you're sexually harassing us during like pat downs, like if you're like grabbing our junk and stuff like that, I'm calling it out. I'm calling out everything. And if the Muslims are bucking on you, they're doing their hunger strikes or protests, I'm protesting with them. Whoever's against the staff, I'm riding with. And they get tired of it. They get tired of that shit really fast. And after a while, a lieutenant gets assaulted by a check-in. This dude's trying to check in. They won't let him. So the dude takes off on him. Now you have to check me in. And so I laugh about it in an email to my wife, like, this motherfucker, I hope he got hurt. And because of my charges, once again, SIS has to read and approve every email. So sometimes it would take 2 to 5 days. Like it could take a long time. But on this day, it was a lieutenant doing it. And it was Lieutenant Wilcox, this like old buff, burly, been down.
Call him out. Call him out, Eric.
Yeah, he's a bitch. I hate him. I hate him and his punk ass son. And so he called me down to his office. And you just have to go. You can't have the buddy system. I have to stress that because in the USPs, you are going with a buddy. You have a little buddy program. But in the mediums, you're going by yourself or you're going to the shoe. So I waddle on down there and what's up? And the lieutenant has me go into a mop closet. He like, hey, we walk past his office and it's him and another guard. I guess another lieutenant. And they take me into this mop closet and the lieutenant's hot. Wilcox is hot. He's barking all this stuff, calling me a just things to try to provoke a response. And I'm not going for that. I'm uncomfortable. I'm laughing in his face. Like, what are you going to do, dude? What do you want? What are you going to do? And people with those sort of egos don't like being laughed at. It diminishes them. And he got tired of it and he pushed me. He like pushed me against a metal locker. So I'm like, I fall back against him. I'm like, what the fuck? And as soon as I step forward, he punches me twice. And as we've talked about, I'm a little guy, but I can usually keep myself safe. And he did not expect me to punch back. Like I could tell, like those dudes, they did not expect me to go. And I did. I lit him up. I went pop, pop, pop. And before I threw the fourth one, it was a right hook. Before I threw that, he was already down. He was in a puddle of blood. I could show you those pictures too. And I knew at that point I'd made a crucial error. And so a gaggle of cops come running in. There's 7, 8, 9 of them. And they stomp me half to death. Like anyone who's been in prison knows what happens. And they're kneeing me in the back of the head, stomping me, punching me, doing the knee to your lungs so you can't breathe. And after that, they put you in the striker chair and took me to the 4-point room.
Talk about the striker chair. Tell the people what it's like to be locked into this chair. Do they put a mask on you too, or just put you in the chair?
I'm grateful for that. But so what they did to me was they have me on the ground, they're choking, and they put me in cuffs, and then they bring this chair up to my feet, and then they lift you all up at once and slam you into it, and they strap you down. So you're not moving. They do your legs, your chest, your arms, and then you're in their control. They can do anything to you. They can pepper spray you. They can beat you up. They can choke you. They can throw you downstairs. They can do whatever they want. So it was one of those, up to that point, it was probably the most powerless I've ever felt because I couldn't do nothing about it. There was literally nothing you can do.
So you're in that chair, man, and when you can't do anything, you can't protect yourself, you can't scratch your nose, drives you nuts upstairs in the head a little bit, huh?
It does. Because for me, it was just the fear. Like I'm always able to usually defend myself. And this time I was defenseless, and that's scary. Like it's scary no matter who you are.
So now they 4-point you, right? You know, we hear stories all the time about 4-point, but you were actually 4-pointed. Tell the people what 4-point is so they know.
And so the process is just as shitty too. So they take you to this room and they stand you up, you're handcuffed, and they use like a metal hook to slice off your clothes like some fucking rapist. And so they cut off all your clothes. For me, thankfully, they put me in a new pair of boxers, and they sit you on this metal bed. At penitentiaries, they usually don't even have mattresses. I had like a really thin mat, and they lay you down and spread you out like an X, and they handcuff you as tight as it can go, as stretched as you can go. And then they pull your legs down, and they do those too. They handcuff them or leg cuff them, I guess. And so you're an X, you're getting quartered, and immediately the pain starts shooting. You don't have 5 seconds before you start feeling radiating pain. And it goes from your arms to your neck, to your shoulders, to your back. Like places I didn't think would hurt, my jaw started hurting real bad from doing that. And they just leave you there, and there's nothing you can do. You are stuck staring at this fluorescent light. You can turn your head a little, but I've never felt pain like that before or after, and it doesn't go away. Like it stays the entire time you're chained like that.
You kind of got to just get mentally strong, and you're there. How long are you there for on that 4-point?
I was there for, and this sounds almost like a blessing, 7.5 hours. And that's a lot shorter than like people like Thomas Smith, who had to do it for 24 and got his shoulder reconstructed. He was at Adx also. But 7.5 hours where like I had to piss on myself. I had to say mantras to myself to stay sane. I had to like embrace the pain sometimes. Like, this is my life now. This is all I have. I'm gonna survive it. I almost like making the pain your friend. That's a stupid way of putting it, but it's the only way I can describe it. Because you can't escape it. So you have to lean into it. But it was brutal. I don't recommend it for anyone.
So you're 4-pointed. After you get done being 4-pointed, they finally move you to a cell, right? You go into a cell. What's it like for you to go into a shoe cell after being 4-pointed? Do you go in with somebody? What happens?
So after being 4-pointed, they put me in soft restraints for another 2 hours where you're handcuffed to your waist. And then they drive me to the USP. They put me like, they have the 11 guards, and they put you in a van. There's 3 vans. Like, they're so over the top. And so they drive me to the penitentiary, and they walk you in like you're fucking Hannibal Lecter or Luigi, doing their big pageantry. And they take me to the shoe there, and they put me in this cell that has like a camera outside of it and everything. And that cell is just covered in shit, like literal human shit. And the toilet's turned off to where you can get water this time, but there's other people's shit in it. And if you try to flush it, it kind of boils a little, gets to the top. So like you don't keep flushing. Like, and they gave me half a mattress, and then that's it. That's it. So you just have to be in this cell covered in shit. And I was there for 5 days before they eventually drove me out.
What's your mental state, man? Depression when that happens?
Anger, defiance. I had to lean into the negative feelings for them so that I didn't lean into my own like sorrow, because I was sad, I was depressed, I was scared. I felt those things, but I'm also looking around seeing like I fucked up one of their dudes, and so now they're so pissed they have to do this to me. Like, this shows me how delicate they are. It's not a reflection on me, it's a reflection on them. So I was able to lean into that, thankfully.
At this time, no prosecution for the physical altercation you have with the lieutenant?
No, not until after Leavenworth.
Well, let's talk about where you go next after they take you out of the pen, because usually whenever there's an assault on staff or the staff assaults you and you assault them back, they take you to a totally different prison, right? So where do they take you to after you spend your 5 days at the pen?
Yeah, so they woke me up at 4:30, like as they tend to, and I didn't know what was happening. It's scary. And they marched down to R&D, and they just put me in the back of like, what is this entry? A cop car. And it's got 2 guards, obviously, and they just start driving. They won't tell me where we're going. And after 10 hours, I learn we're going to Leavenworth. Like, this is where I'm headed. So they drive me to Leavenworth for what's called holdover status, where they can just put you somewhere until they figure out what to do for you or do with you. And I'm in that shoe for 6 months. And I'm on a range by myself too. It was weird. Like, that was 6 very isolating months. And once again, no phone calls, no visits. And yeah, I'm just there until they move me from there.
Is there ever a time when you're in that cell and you're thinking in your mind, like, man, how am I going to get through this? I'm not going to make it.
No.
There are dudes that do go through that. I'm sure you've seen them, right? That don't make it.
And I get it. Like, I totally understand how and why that could happen. But like, I'm thankful that I had a good support system and strong ethics. Because you can lean into your ethics. If you stand on something, you can lean into that hard. And that empowers you. That gives you strength. Like, this is who I am. They're not going to break me. And I did that as much as I could. Yeah, I made it through Leavenworth. I got through there pretty strong.
So it comes down to stand for something or fall for anything, right?
Yeah, and you will crumble. Like, if you're weak in the head, you can fall apart quick.
So what happens after that 6 months?
After that 6 months, they tell me, we're not prosecuting you. We're going to put a management variable on you, and we're sending you to the penitentiary. I was like, okay. And so they fly me out to USP McCreary, which is this dump. It was just a miserable place, and I think it's in Kentucky. And so I don't even remember. Like, that place is just a fucking nightmare. And they put me on that yard, and I was there for 5 total days.
You're walking around in the yard on McCreary. What year was that? Do you remember?
2018, maybe?
Yeah. So you might be over there. You were probably over there when Adam Oliveri was there, but you might not have been there long enough. He was my old cellie. He ended up sticking the cop a few times at Big Sandy, but eventually he was there. He was the shot caller for the Independents. But anyway, McCreary's not a joke place either. I mean, there's some serious violence. People have gotten bodied there. What's your 5 days like, and why are you only there for 5?
So the 5 days sucked, for real. It was terrifying. I didn't have problems those days, but it was the staff. Once again, it was staff telling me, like, we're going to get you off this yard. Like, you're nothing. We're going to get you fucked up. And you try to brush it aside. But there was also people there that had hated me from CCA. And like, that's fair enough. Like, it's easy to hate me. Like, I can be really annoying. So after 5 days, one morning at about 5:30, 2 or 3 guards came and got me, opened the door, like, King, you're going to the LT's office. And so they cuffed me up and walked me to the office, and they put me in a holding cell. And then SIS comes up to you, and it was 2 or 3 of them. And they're like, hey, we're intercepting some emails saying, like, they're about to get you today. I'm like, who? No, you know who. Like, okay. And so they ask you, are you safe? Or they ask me, like, King, are you safe? And they just told me I was going to get booked. So if you say no, you go to PC. And now you're protective custody, dude. And you're just going to sit back there miserable. So I say, like, yeah, I'm safe. Like, of course I'm safe. Duh. And so they're like, are you sure? And they're laughing, like they know. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure. And so then they walk me like through the kitchen area and out to this holding area where you wait after chow. It's like by the chow hall. And the guards they put me in this place. They lock the door. It's like a chained in area. And there's like 5 or 6 guards right there watching. And they're just standing there. And there's one dude in that area. And he's much bigger than me. Like everyone's bigger than me. And he introduces himself. And as soon as I introduce myself, he knows what time it is. And so do I. So he puts his stuff down. He's like, oh yeah? Yeah. And he starts like just doing a little circle on me. And I know, like I'm not dumb. And then he jumps, like he goes. And I do enough to not get hurt. I'm not going to beat this dude in a fight. So I'm doing enough to keep him off of me. And after about a minute and a half to 2.5 minutes, the guards come rushing in, spear tackle us, grind our faces on the ground. And then they just put me back in the shoe. And then the next day, like they have this shit happen again. And then they finally get me out of there.
Next day, what? They have someone else jump on you again the next day?
Yeah. So the next day they showed up at my cell. And it was like 10 p.m. and they have this dude, he's not little, he's bigger than me, but just this guy. And he looks Mexican. And they're like, hey, King, like you got a cellie, cuff up. And I look at the dude, I was like, you white? And he's like, yeah, of course I am. I'm like, oh no. But it's so late that I don't care. I don't want to do this. So I let him in. And as you know, like if it's a Sereno or one of those dudes, you usually can. But I think this dude was a Texas gang dropout. I don't know for sure. But the next day, he takes off his shirt and it's the Aztec calendar. I was like, bro, you said you were white. God damn it. And he's like, yeah, well, I'm not. And so, we fight. He jumps first. I never go first, dude. I'm never swinging first. I don't care. And so we fight for 15 to 20 minutes and we're both busted up, face, nose. And then the cops, they're standing there watching most of it. And then they finally pepper spray us with it's the pepper spray that sucks your lungs so you can't breathe. And so as soon as they do that, we both stop like, and then they cuff us up again and get me out of there.
Man, unbelievable. You've been through some stuff. So now you leave. That was at Lee County, correct?
That was at McCreary.
At McCreary. So now you leave McCreary. Where do you go now?
They after that, they get me to USP Lee. And they don't even let me on the yard there because they know what's about to happen. So I'm in the shoe there for 11 to 14 days. It's hard to keep track of this shit. Like when you're, and so then they come and get me one morning. They say, King, cuff up. You're, I forget what they call it, what status that is, but you're being prosecuted. You're going on a writ. That's what they call it. And I'm like, what? And then they fly me back to Denver. And they placed me in the Inglewood shoe because that shoe is the same shoe for the low, the camp, and the pretrial facility. But because I have this serious assault against a lieutenant, they don't let me go to the pretrial facility. So they put me in the shoe and then let me know they're pressing charges for assaulting that LT.
How long are you in the hole for that assault, for the prosecution?
Yeah, that lasts 2 years. And it's 2 years of no phone, no visits. They take my mail, so I'm not even allowed to write my family after a while. And it's vicious there. Like people think because it's a shoe at a low that it's like soft, and it's a 6x8 cell for 2 years by yourself. With no one to call.
Were you cell alone? Were you cell alone, wreck alone?
Yeah, I had a cellie for a little bit. A dude named Smiles, and he ended up going to ADX too. He had sliced the cop. So they let us be cellies together for a couple months. Yeah, weird. But we would run the team on them. If they were disrespectful, we would run the team. And so after a while, they're like, no, you're done.
Now they take you to court. Are you worried? What are they offering? Is there an offer?
Yeah, so there's not an offer. It's 20 years. Like, sign this plea and we're asking for 20. And because they said serious bodily injury. And I was not going to sign another plea deal no matter what. Not when I was in the right. And so I take this long ass road to travel, or to trial, not travel. But it is long.
You're traveling for 2 years, but go ahead.
Traveling somewhere. And so that's like all through COVID, all through the George Floyd stuff. And I'm not having contact with my family. Like, I'm getting hospitalized by these cops. It's just vicious for real, but I'm not going to back down again. And eventually we go to trial, and a lot of people will know that only 0.08% of cases in the feds go to trial. No one goes to trial because the punishment's so hard and their burden of proof is so little. They don't have to do shit to find you guilty. And so I take it to trial. I believe in myself. And 6 days later, like I get the not guilty verdict. It was a miracle.
Man, what'd that feel like to get a not guilty verdict?
So I had taken the stand on my behalf, not against someone else, but to say, like, I have a right to defend myself from cops. And some people don't like that. Like, some people said that was ratting. And I was not buying that shit at all. Like, I am going to tell my side of the story against the cops. And I did. I looked at that jury and I explained to them prison politics. I explained to them the us versus them shit. I explained to them how, like, you can't be a victim because they can kill you. People die in prison. It's not uncommon. And so I told this jury, like, I had a right to stop this dude from hurting me. No one has the right to hurt me. And they believe me. And so these 11 jurors found me not guilty, and I wept. Like, I sobbed uncontrollably because you never think that. No one wins a jury trial. Nobody. And to win from trial, covered in tattoos, admitting that I fucked them up. Like, I didn't deny that at all. But they believe me that, yeah, we can keep ourselves safe. And so I wept, and they took me back to Inglewood, and I thought that I was going to go back to a medium. I only had 14 points. My management variable was over, and they were very quick to quash that idea.
Stop you for a second though. When the lieutenant testifies at the trial, is he up there acting like you're the worst criminal? You beat him up.
Yeah. So they have 9 cops testify. The lieutenant shows up with a cane. And so they have to, like, the prosecution knows we're going to.
Well, hold on, bro. That's all part of the show. He needs them tax dollars for free. He needs that comp, right? So he don't have to go back to work, right?
And that's what it was, for real. And he talks about how, like, I sucker punched him. I just threw haymakers at him, and he just didn't have a chance to protect himself. They have another guard, and I've showed this before, but another guard from Inglewood who had cracked my head open while I was handcuffed behind my back. Busted my head open. I had to get surgery for it. Or not surgery, stitches. And had a serious concussion. Dude, 6'4". And they had him testify as a character witness, saying I'm a violent thug, that all I do is try to hurt staff all day. And they had the nurses come. They had guards say that, like, King doesn't have a black eye. King was never hit. And they'd be showing pictures of me with a black eye. And they would try to say it was from them stomping me out. It wasn't from the lieutenant. And they look so stupid. Like, they're all contradicting each other. They couldn't keep a story straight. They all tried leaning into, like, I'm a veteran of the United States. I've been a guard for 12 years and I can be trusted. And they didn't trust them because they're a bunch of lying pieces of shit. And yeah, they just look like clowns. They look dumb as hell. So it felt really good. I embarrassed them.
So you beat the trial. You think you might be going to population somewhere, whether it's, a medium, a low, a penitentiary, but they have something else in store for you. They decide, you know what, this guy with this little ass bit of time, he beat us at trial, so now we're going to stick it to, we're going to get something out of him. They send you to one of the worst places you could go that hurts people mentally and emotionally, right? They send you to the ADX.
Yeah.
What is it like when you find out you're heading to the ADX, bro?
So a week before, like, the captains and lieutenant had kept threatening me with the CMU, the Communication Management Unit, because they said I was organizing protests and recruiting people, just nonsense. And so they did a CMU referral and it got rejected. I have the paperwork like I got in my trial. And so I thought that was done. And then they shipped me out and they're letting me know, like, we got something for you. Like, don't think this is over. And so I get flown back to USP Lee because that's where my writ was from. So you have to go back. Like, that's for everybody. And they, the next day, psychology shows up on my door. And he's like, King, I found out what we're going to do with you. Because they put you right in the shoe. And I was like, what? Like, am I going to a medium? And he's like, no, we're starting the ADX process. It starts today. And I thought he was joking. I thought he was bullshitting me. Because that place is like, that's where big dogs go. Like, it's where serious people go. And I did not see myself as that type of serious. And I thought he was bullshitting. And then the next day we did the psych eval. And I still thought they were bullshitting. And then I had to do an interview with Region 2 weeks later. And I still thought they were bullshitting. Like, there's no way this is real. Because I only have 2 years left. And no one goes there for 2 years. All the dudes on the range were like yelling at me like, oh, they're faking you out, King. Don't believe them, dude. No one goes there. Rabble, rabble. All these fucking know-it-alls. All these dumbasses. And then a month and a half after it started, they come to my door like, King, we got some paperwork for you. And they slide it under the door. And this is the first thing they give you is it's the report from the interview, from Region's interview. And it lists all the reasons why you should be referred. And mine had assaulting staff, combative, communication issues, and leadership. That's how they get people, is leadership. They said I was a left-wing leader, which is very common in prison, all us left-wing guys. And so they have that report, and the report recommends it. It says, recommend, don't recommend. I recommend. And then a week after that, another piece of paper under the door, and it's just a blank piece of paper with 2 squares. One says approved, one says not approved. That's it. And they have a little check mark in the approved paper. And that's how they tell you. Like,
the window, like, sir, did you give me the wrong one? Was this for someone else's cell, sir?
It looks like a joke. I still thought they were joking. Because, like, that's it? Just a little piece of paper approved? And then 4 days later.
The joke ends, though, right?
Oh, it ends pretty quick. And
so after you get the approval, how long before you end up at the ADX?
So once I get the approval, they immediately separate you from your cellie. Now you're an ADX prisoner. So I was on single cell, and that was 4 days. 4 days later, they came and got me, did a little COVID test, and they take you to Atlanta on ADX status again. Take me to Oklahoma this time instead of Grady County. ADX status, the 3 guards, lieutenant, cell by yourself. And then so 11 days after I got the approved, I was on that bus to Florence.
Let's talk about that, right? Because there's this stigma about the Supermax, and you see these movies where they dramatize it, and guys walking down this hallway, and it's clean, and the floor, it's pristine, and, it's just you and the cops, and, when you get to this cell, it's clean, but it's lonely. It's just you in the cell, concrete and steel. What is it like for you? What's the reality of going to the ADX on day number 1?
So the bus ride was scary as shit. Because you don't know. You don't know what they're going to do. And I'd been set up so many times that I don't trust them. So I'm having real deal fear for real. Like, my arms are going numb. They're always kind of numb from the floor pointing, but like my chest is feeling weird. I can't feel my face. And there's still loudmouths on the bus saying that I'm not going. Like, there are people that are going to the penitentiary saying that they're still faking me out. And so you get there, they drop off the pen guys, and they drive you. It's like a 8.5 second drive to ADX, and then they open the doors. Or it's not a door, of course, it's a fence. But they drive you in, and they drive you in so slow. And you got 2 guards front, side, back, and they all have the guns. And they just walk you. They walk the bus to this big garage door. And it opens, and you just pull in slowly. And I've been hearing about ADX before I was in prison. Like, everyone knows about it. And then the shit inside prison, you never know what's real. You never know what's fake. And so I'm expecting guard dogs. I'm expecting the National Guard, like shit like that. And instead, it's just like 3 cops, and they just walk you off the bus. Like, come on down, boys. Me and another dude, a white guy from South Carolina, white GD. He was like killing dudes in the state max or whatever. And they just walk us down and just put us in a little small R&D cell and just start the process. It was the weirdest goddamn thing.
So now you get you get checked in and all that stuff. When they check you, they get you butt naked, you cough, you lift we know what you got to do. So is it really like that? Are you walking down this hall and is it like real clean? You get to your cell. What's it like?
So it's not clean at all. You got the guards around you, of course, and they open the R&D doors and they just walk you into the condor, whatever you call it in the prison. And then you just, depending on what unit you're in, I was placed in C unit. And so they walk us down this like long slope. Cause I guess that's like the built underground shit. You don't see dirt or nothing, but the prison is built into the ground. And so it's a long walk. It takes like 3 minutes of like shuffling, and it's just filthy. Like the prison is gross because they have the campers clean it, and the campers don't give a shit about us. Bunch of fucking bootlickers. For real. And so this 3-minute walk, you walk past A unit, you walk past B unit, which is the control unit at this point. And then finally at the end of this long ass hallway, they open a set of electronic doors. You walk through, open another set of electronic doors. You walk through down some steps. And then you're at your cell. I was in A1, like C and then A lower. Because there's A and B of C unit, top and bottom. And they open the outside doors already open. They open the inside door. It's all electronic, like open door. And you walk in, then they close the inside one, you uncuff. They walk out, close the outside one, and now you're in this cell. And you've been hearing about these cells for years. And it's all how respectful the men are and how like you're gonna get the best everything because you earned it now. They don't want to fuck with you. And I had that belief shaken from the truth tree very quickly. The cell was disgusting. It was basically a Grady County cell. Pubic hairs everywhere. Literally everywhere. I'm not joking. On the windowsill, on the bed. It really felt like dude was just ripping them out, placing them everywhere. And then there was food crumbs.
Springs everywhere.
Yes. And these food crumbs, I could not believe it. Like, it felt like he was literally just walking on pubes and pieces of bread, just shaking this shit everywhere. And the toilet was covered in piss stains. It could have been, but just covered. The shower was filthy. And so at that point, I had one washcloth, one Bob Barker tub of soap, the soap, shampoo, body wash. And I spent the next like 2 hours just scrubbing the shit out of that cell. I use the washcloth at first to scrape everything together. And then you go back and you wash it and you wring it out, wash it again. I used the whole tub of Bob Barker soap and I still didn't feel clean. Like the respect that you think you're going to see, I did not see. And that's probably why they put me in that cell. Honestly, they probably knew there was a bug in there. And so they put you in there.
So now you're back to the loneliness. You've been on a bunch of years mission of being alone. You're in the ADX. I mean, is there any community? Are people like, hey man, who are you? Where are you from? Is that what happens as soon as you get there or what?
So like for a dude that's not PC ever, I was in the shoe a lot. That's what happens when you go after the blue gang. But there was nothing. I didn't get a TV for my first 2 weeks. You're supposed to get it the same day, but it is what it is. I'd fucked up their brother. And so it's quiet. Like it's quiet. Even sitting in my house right now, I can still hear the heat. I can still hear cars outside. You couldn't hear dick in there. And I've heard on other ranges, it can be different. It can, like in the control unit, I guess it's like Grady County. It's just nonstop loud. In that unit, it was a tomb. And you have your little window, skinny ass thing, but all you see is a wall from the other units, I guess. And there's no like, what's up, brother? There's no like, where'd you come from? And that's what usually happens in a shoe. Like, who you with? I'll shoot you some shit. I'll shoot you some stamps under the door. There's no kites. There was nothing. And I didn't hear another prisoner talk for 2 weeks. Everyone else was just the guards bringing you your food. And then laundry, they take your laundry bags too. But it was sad. Like, it was a depressing ass place.
So who do you end up meeting though? I mean, like there's some important people there. You ever see Larry Hoover there, Wayne Perry, any of them type of dudes?
Yeah. So, and C unit, that's the disciplinary unit. The only people I ever saw there were the orderlies. And so I met Cueta, who's on the Nuestra Familia Council. And me and him, when he was the orderly, he would be on my door for like 30 minutes. We would talk basically his entire time. And I met some other dudes that just like had really interesting stories that no one's ever heard of. No one's ever heard of these dudes, but some of them have been at ADX for 5, 10, 15 years. And when I finally got to the pre-release unit, not the step down unit, but the pre-release unit, then you start like seeing and hearing the big name dudes. But the rest of the guys are just scattered throughout these units, like all these old time gang members that no one's ever heard of. They're just scattered throughout, and they're just regular dudes there.
Larry Hoover, ever see him?
Yeah. So Larry was in KB, and that used to be a mental health unit, but they turned it into a elderly unit when like that lawsuit happened and they started shipping all the mental health people to the USP. And so our two units are next to each other, the pre-release and the never leaving, which is weird. And so when they would go to medical, if you were out at rec, you could see him and like shout to him. And so that's where I saw Larry Hoover there, and like I'd shoot him the fist or you doing okay, that sort of stuff. I saw Eric Rudolph there too. He was the outside orderly. Eric Rudolph, that piece of shit. And so he's like a 1B brand member now. He's weird. But I got to see him. I got to see Terry Nichols after he got beat up by that old mob guy. They took him out of the unit, and so he had a big black eye. And they locked all of us down.
Let me stop you. He gets beat up he gets beat up in the ADX, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I did a video last week and on TikTok, dude's like, man, that's the safest prison in the country. No, there ain't no violence here. Dude ended up, bodying his cellie before. Then he goes to the ADX and he bodies a dude in the ADX in 2020. Now the Trump administration's seeking the ultimate penalty for him. But people do get beat up there, right? People do get killed there.
Yeah, and to talk about that 2020 killing, that's one of the wildest things I've ever heard because the guards facilitated it. There's no other way. This killing happened on range 13, and there's 5 cameras in your cell, and there's 4 cameras on the rec yard. You share the rec yard with one other person at a different time. And somehow this dude managed to talk the guy in the cell to put a rope around his neck, and they were going to fake hold him hostage to get the guards to open the doors. That was their breakout plan. But it was obviously a lie. And so this guy slides his bed sheet like under the door through the bean slot. Dude yokes him. And there are at least 9 cameras watching. And these guards don't do shit about it because they don't care. We're not humans to them. And that's the sort of stuff that happens. That's besides the mental violence, these guards will often open doors to let a perceived enemy get at you. And like a long time ago, they were like literally watching people get murdered on the rec yard before they did the dog kennels.
I read some of the stuff, but there wasn't a lot of details about how that dude did that in 2020. That's how that happened?
He convinced the guy that we'd hold him hostage. And the guy, you never let someone else take your life in their hands. Like you are the only one who will protect you. And somehow this guy put the bed sheet through the bean slot or whatever he did, and he strangled him. It took like 3 minutes.
That's got to be the craziest story ever, man. Like, because people are wondering, how do people get bodied at the ADX? And I mean, if you can trick someone into putting a rope around, you can just tug a little bit and it's over with. And now they're seeking the Trump. They're going to put that dude to sleep, bro.
Oh, he's going to sleep. Yeah, they're going to kill him. And it's sad. Like, it's sad because like he probably needed serious mental help. He probably needed someone to work with him on severe impulse control. And he probably needed it 30 years earlier. But he never got it. Like, he's never going to get it. And so another time something wild happened where a DC black guy was the orderly and he was mopping his range. And the cops opened a brand new door. They said it was on accident. Like, that's not on accident. It takes 3 people. You have to open 2 doors. And like they almost killed each other. Like, and the guards were watching. They could have stopped it. They could have rushed in, and they don't care because we are not humans. And that's how they get people.
You know, the staff that work there, I know there's old timers still working there probably, but any compassion? Will they pass a book? Will they pass a newspaper? Will they look out with an extra tray? Any of that type of stuff going on?
Nope. So there's the old guards, like you mentioned, the ones that have been there for 20 years, like basically see themselves as convicts. Like they have their code and you'll get what you got coming. 1 bar soap, 1 toothbrush. Like you won't get a second toothbrush. And if you drop it on accident, they're not going to bring you a new one. And then there's the guards that do the weird shit, like it's like the ego stuff where they have to feel big, like getting one over on us. And those are the guards that like have a book for you, some mail, and they'll drop it outside your door so you can't get it. Or they'll like take a letter that's yours and just put it right back in the pile. Maybe you get it tomorrow, maybe you don't. And you've waited a month or 2 for this letter. They're guards that will say that they'll bring you the phone and then they bring it and they disconnect it. Sorry. And so then there's the middle guards. And those are the ones that are like, they're the ones that try to suck off the prisoners, basically. Like they get status from being around big name people. And so they're almost weird about it. Like you'll hear them bragging about like, oh yeah, Chapo said, what's up? Oh man, he's in there. He's just suffering, but like, you know, he's got money, like weird shit, like gossipy shit. And so that's the 3 type of guards, basically. There's no compassion. There might be cool. Like, honestly, I'm not going to say that like they're all a piece of shit. There might be a cool one here or there. Cause they're humans. There's cool humans everywhere, but I didn't run into them. I didn't see them. And I saw more than enough bad ones.
You know, you ever build any friendships while you were there? Because you were there for a while.
Yeah. Like that dude Quato I was telling you about, I'd borderline consider him a friend. He still says what's up through people. Which is a really interesting guy. There was a Keystone guy that I really got along with. He'd been there for 8 years for cutting some dude's arm off or something. And then in the pre-release unit, you come out in your group. So it'll be like 2 people with you. And then the other groups can come out too. And so there was a group upstairs, group across the hall. And so the group upstairs, there was another dude from Kansas City. He'd been there for 10 years. He would come talk to me. And then in the group across the hall, there was a jihadi bro. And he was inside for translating speeches. And they give him 18 years for that, material support. So keep that in mind when we're judging people, that the government fucks all of us. And me and him would talk for our entire bids because like he's interesting. And so, as you know, sometimes you have to find common ground with people to survive. You don't have to like everything about them. You don't have to like who their parents are or what they did in 2001. But what you can do is find out that like maybe you like the same shows. Maybe you find the same thing interesting in history. And then you also are going through the same shit. So you automatically have stuff in common. So you have to find common ground. And me and him, like, I still consider him a friend too. I'm not going to name him, but I'd give him a hug right now. I'd go visit him if I could.
So, I mean, you get to know these people. When you get ready to go from a cell to the step down, right, to the pre-release, are you worried? Like, man, I'm going to be in an area with dudes that might be very dangerous, and I might not make it out of here. Does that ever enter your mind?
It does. It does because it's the paranoia. You never know what they're going to do, and they can get you killed. Like they can get you fucked up, especially in those units. They can put you in the group with the wrong. I've seen it happen. Bunch of ABTs, and they put some West Coast guy there. Well, what's going to happen? They know. And so that was, even though I'm not fucked up, like you can still make enemies. That they can still convince some guy to get you off from a porn magazine or a piece of Suboxone, and they'll jump. Not everyone, but you know what I mean. And so there was that nerves. And SIS does the same shit they did in McCreary, where they take you into a room and behind glass, of course, and they're like, "Hey, King, we're going to put you in the pre-release. Are you safe? Are you good?" It's like, you motherfuckers. Like, what are you about to do? And then,
if you're good, you don't even know who you're going to be around.
Right. That's the point. Like, you don't know. And so I say yes because they say they'll give me phone calls. I'll get 2 phone calls a month if I go in that unit. They'll have to be live monitored, like SIS or the FBI has to listen in live. So you have to base your schedule off their schedule. And that's just because of the charges. Like, not everyone has to do that. But that's what they like. That's the carrot they dangled. And for some people, it's a tablet. Like, they dangle a tablet. But for me, it was the phone call. So I was like, fuck. It's just like, all right, let's go. And thankfully they didn't give me this time.
When you leave, you finally do get out of the ADX, right? They don't just release you from the ADX because they don't want to. They have, I think there's program statement says they can't release you from the ADX, right?
Yeah. That's what they tell Congress, that like, we will never release someone from here. Like, we help them get ready for the free world. And that's how they get their funds allocated. So for me, the day I was getting out of prison, or the night before I was getting out of prison, they drove me to the USP, 2-minute drive. And they stuck me in R&D from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. And you're still an ADX prisoner. So 3 guards come, they get you, they got batons, and they walk me to a cell. And even then I thought they were going to get me. Like, just one last little chance. Or that they were going to press new charges, because I have 3 or 4 staff assaults since then. So you never know. And then just the next morning at 10 o'clock, they're like, cuff up. They just walk you to R&D, super casual, just like arriving, super casual. And they have you just wait at the front of the prison, and some jackass counselor comes and puts you in a van and just drops you off at the entrance to the prison. Basically the side of the road.
What did it feel like, though, to finally walk out, to be able to stretch your arms and say, you know what, it's up to me now. I'm in the driver's seat. Whether I go back to prison or I stay free is now up to me. What did it feel like to be in that moment?
So in that moment, what I felt was freezing, because it was December. And my people had to park on the side of the highway. So, but the first thing I felt was like that's real air. That's free air. Whether you're on probation or not, that's free air. And I saw my wife running towards me, my kids running towards me, and you just embrace them. And it's surreal. Like, it's scary too. Like, I'll always let people know this, that like, it's scary as shit. I didn't touch someone in 5.5 years, 7.5 total, if you include the CCA stuff. And you're not used to it. You're not used to being smothered or huddled. So you feel this immense love and relief, but you also feel like insecure. I felt dumb. I've told you in the past about having to use QR codes or swiping a credit card. I never had a smartphone because I was poor white trash. So it's this mixture of immense fear and then like immense relief and love. And that's a hard, like, we all contain dualities. And that was what I was going through.
Crazy. But now you're free, you're living your best life, hopefully. Tell the people what you're doing with your life now, Eric.
Yeah. So I got really blessed to where I got a career fresh out of prison. Bread and Roses Legal Center hired me as a defense paralegal to where I can help keep people out of prison. So shout out to Z and Erica for giving me a chance to do something positive with my life. I also, because I've had this like unique story, like it's not special or nothing, but it is unique, winning a trial and then going to ADX, I was able to get a book deal. And so I put a book out while in prison with one of my best friends, Josh Davidson, just telling other people's stories. But now I got to tell ADX's story, and that's with PM Press. Joey gave me a chance, and it's called A Clean Hell, because that's what a warden once called ADX. He called it A Clean Hell. And that's coming out this winter. But those things give me a sense of purpose. I get to live at home with my wife. I get to be there for my kids. I get to buy shoes. And I still have a lot of the insecurities. Like, I still have trauma, but I'm also privileged to have a therapist. I do EMDR therapy to work through like trauma and triggers. So I've been blessed to have like the most opportunity someone could have fresh out of prison. And it's still hard, but every day is probably the best day of my life.
That's what's up, man. I want you to stay free, man. Live your best life. Before we go, anything you want to say, Eric?
Yes. 2 things. One, please buy my book when it drops. It's a memoir of ADX. It's not just my story. It's about what they do to us and the psychological impact, like why it's important. But also, please write a prisoner. Please write someone inside. There's people that are suffering, even if not physically, mentally, And a letter can change someone's life. A letter can be the difference between having the best day and the worst day. And we have that power. It takes 2 minutes. And when you have that power, it's an abuse not to use it, in my mind. So please show those men inside, or women, please show them some love and shoot a letter out.
That's what's up, man. Life Inside the ADX. We're going to put the links up for this brother's book. Definitely check him out. When the book actually drops, we'll bring you back on. We'll promote it, man. I appreciate you coming on. Blood on the Razor Wire TV with respect. Until tomorrow, we're out.